All right. Hello. We see a few people jumping in. As we allow some time for some people to come in, if you could just share maybe where you're from, we'll see where everybody's attending from today. Welcome. You're at Mindful Leadership in an Exponential World. Well, thank you, Amir. Appreciate it. All right, Tibby Island. It's a beautiful part of the world. Probably, is it Tibby Island? Because I think it is. Tybee Island. I knew I felt like I said it wrong. All right, we'll give a few more minutes as more and more people come in, and we'll get started. And Jesse, when will I be able to share my screen?
Is it not allowing you right now?
Nope.
Okay, let me check. Okay, you should be good now.
Hello?
Where the fires are.
Yeah, did you hear me? You should be able to do it now.
Okay. All right. See if you guys can all see that. Can you see that on your end, Jesse?
Yeah, you look good.
Okay.
Not too deep breath.
All right. Well, as a few more people come on, we'll go ahead and get started. So it's time for some questions and whatnot. But welcome. Wait just a second. I'm getting a couple more messages from the staff here. All right, so we'll get started now. Welcome to Mindful Leadership in an Exponential World. I'm Aaron Baer, and I'm the founder of Namaste Republic, and I've written a book called Reimagining Innovation that we're going to kind of take a little closer look of how the exponential leader of the future needs to be mindful, to be present, to lead with the chaos that's happening right now. So over the last 10 years, I've been traveling in and out of some of the greatest hotbeds of entrepreneurship in the world, from Shanghai, Singapore, Tel Aviv. And my role was to give these learning expeditions to leaders, and some of them board of directors of Fortune 500 companies. And we would take them into Tel Aviv and kind of examine, like, what is the innovation coming from? And I've got the opportunity to visit companies as Microsoft, Google, Facebook, Amazon, and Tesla. And, you know, as of recently, obviously, there's been a lot less travel in my life. I gave me an opportunity to write a meaningful book about those experiences. And I want to share some of that today, and how mindfulness has really changed my life and has begun to change the people around the company that I'm creating's life. So during my career, I've been an entrepreneur and started over a dozen companies. In fact, I've started a couple dozen companies. I've failed at many of them, but I've also succeeded at about a dozen where I've exited those companies. And now I've decided, you know, for my next startup, for my next focus on life is to focus on this company, Namaste Republic, around the message of peace, love, and gratitude. And the reason is because I think with all the chaos and everything going out there, we have a potential mental health crisis on our hands. But the opportunity for us is to be mindful and actually make decisions about what's happening right now versus what's happened in the past or what we think will happen in the future. And that's what I'm going to take a closer look. And I have a few themes that we've built some pretty extensive training around at Namaste Republic. So if I just share our purpose, it's to raise human consciousness through mindfulness. And our vision is world peace, one mind at a time. And the reason I say world peace is because it starts with you and how you look at the world and how you process information. Today, with over 5,000 messages coming at you all the time, it's hard to be able to process information and make your own decisions where you're being influenced all the time, everywhere you go. Turn on the computer, digital billboards, you walk outside, influences are enamoring us all the time. So in that, I want to welcome you to really dive into this a little deeper, and we'll just jump right in. So in search of happiness, I realized a few principles to help myself and now others. Most importantly, I need to seek meaning. I no longer seek happiness. I realized I was resistant to being unhappy when I sought happiness. And I think there's a philosophical movement towards this where I seek meaning. I'm seeking a meaningful life, a purpose that I can be thankful for, a simple purpose that I have tremendous gratitude for, and that I can express gratitude at all times when I'm working on that meaningful purpose. So an example of this is, I look back to when I was in college, and I had the opportunity to visit Calcutta, India, and I actually got to visit Mother Teresa's orphanage. And during that visit, one of my friends, a girl from Mary from Michigan, she went to Michigan, and we were on this trip together. She asked Mother Teresa, what can I do to make this world a better place? And Mary had this beautiful smile. So Mary looked back at Mother Teresa, and I just remember Mother Teresa said, keep smiling. It's that simple. So it's these small acts of gratitude and leadership, you know, especially in times of chaos and unexpected, that actually allow us to kind of move through what we would say is the disruption that's happening to us and actually be the creators of the world that we have. So from that, here's a quote that I just want to read to you that you've seen on the screen is, let me just move this. Sorry. Gratitude is the fairest blossom which springs from a soul. And if you really think about that quote, gratitude to me is at the heart of happiness, because when you are thankful, you have joy, you have happiness, and I think you become a better leader. And we're going to share the reasons why right now. So Namaste Republic, just to give you an idea about the company, is we're not just a product company. We do have products. We have t-shirts that say Namaste Republic. This one you can barely see, which is actually my favorite. But we have events. We're developing media. We're building out free education. We're doing training with companies. We're developing a community, literally an army, you know, for the Republic to go out there and do good. We have about 15 ambassadors, and we plan to have about 100 ambassadors by the end of the year. And then everything we do is tied to a charity. In particular, the ambassadors charity or charities that we choose each month to give to. So you see that we're going to create a company that obviously grows. And as you look at our logo and you see the energy driving outward, our goal is to spread this mission of peace, love, and gratitude to everyone that touches us in any way. And as you know, over the last 50 years, we have this one planet Earth, and we all live on it. And what's really clear in this picture is it's finite. There is an edge to it, there is an end to it. And unfortunately, since we started dropping nuclear bombs, which when we started in 1950, testing nuclear bombs after we dropped the first ones on Hiroshima and other places in Japan, those bombs every 9 days for 50 years until we basically created a cease. But that created so much carbon in the atmosphere and so much degradation to the atmospheric layers that we look at our planet and it is no longer sustainable as we've started to do damage. We've done it with plastic bottles. We've done it with inequality. We've done it in so many different ways that we're not thinking about the future. An example is the Iroquois people, a tribe that believes when they make a decision, they believe it for the next 7 generations. And we need to start thinking a little bit longer term if we plan on keeping this planet as our home. I think it's something that we'll examine as a future exponential leader, as these leaders that can make a huge impact on the world. In fact, companies and these exponential leaders are more powerful now than any government on this planet. And we can see it in the influence in elections and everything else. So why do we need to reimagine innovation? So if we look at this, a typical company has been plugging along and creating linear gains, meaning they've maybe grown 3, 5, 7, 10, maybe even 20%. But regardless, that's a linear line. What other companies, I think exponentially, and this is with the growth mindset, are disrupting those companies very, very quickly. And during this period, if we look at the time where this line of exponential is underneath the linear, that's a time of deception. And then when it crosses over, it's a time of disruption. And we see these companies continually taking over the world that candidly weren't even alive 20 years ago. Teenagers, creating great influence on our society. The Facebook, Microsofts, Googles of the world. So this system is accelerated on us, and we need to figure out how to basically manage within a new system. And I think it's important to do that. So let's take a look at these 7 principles to help you become a mindful leader in this exponential world. Number 1, you are your habits. How you spend your day is how you spend your life. So who do you spend your time with? What do you spend your time on? Where, when, why, and how are very simple questions. Yet we often don't really look at them until we look back on life, because we're not living in the now. We're not creating that by being intentional with our time and creating that moment so that we can acknowledge what's happening there. Those small moments to enjoy the wind on your back, the sun on your face, the fact that this is a beautiful world, that an amazing amount of things had to happen to be in this moment right now. So choose your friends wisely. You are your 5 closest friends. I think a lot of you probably have heard this, but it is a habit to how you spend your time with. And it's likely to create the outcomes of your life because you're likely to do the same things they do. Next, to think is to create. You're always right. So whatever self-chatter you have and whatever you're thinking about inside of your head, that inner dialogue and that inner monologue is dictating what's happening out in the real world. So you need to minimize your inner critic. One thing is our thoughts become our words become our actions create our results. We are only our thoughts. So be careful, be mindful of your thoughts. I think another way to look at this is some of you may have a lot of fear in today's world. My interpretation of fear is it's an acronym for false evidence appearing real. And it's likely us working through our past and recreating something in our present moment, or working through our future, thinking of and creating what's going to happen in our future. And that worry, anxiety, doubt, stress, or fear is just only there because you created it in your head. If you focus to this moment right now, those fears will go away. Because right now you control everything in your world. And this is your world. So remember, choose to live in the moment and create the life you want. Thinking the life up that you want is an important part of taking the next step into being a mindful leader. Next, what you resist persists. Let it go. So forgive. I think this is one of the most powerful lessons. If there's someone out there that keeps popping in your head and controlling your mind for something they did to you, or you think they did to you, or you recreated in yourself, just forgive them. Forgive them to their face, forgive them to your soul, just forgive them. Stop beating yourself up. And distance critics. You're exactly where you're supposed to be. You've created everything in your life to be in this exact moment. The reason is you're in this moment. So even the obstacles, suffering, and hardships can teach you something to make a better person. And we're going to do a little bit of a meditation later around this on Rumi's guest house. So to prepare yourself for the future, every one of us have things going wrong. Yet some of us are going around and scooping up this crap and dumping it into a red, we'll give you a visual, a red wagon that you're pulling around. And everything, something crappy happens to you. You literally take a shovel, pick it up, and you shove it into this bucket. For whatever reason, you want to carry it around. So you take this red wagon that you're toting around, and guess what? Over time, this red wagon is carrying a lot of shit. And generally, you're the one that hasn't let it go. So at any time, any one of those, pieces of crap in your red wagon, you can unscoop and lay off to the side. I think it's important to regain power over your life is to stop fighting the things that you don't have control and let go of the things that you keep in your mind going over and over that are stopping you from being the best you. From now on, this crap does not have to exist in your life. It's up to you to decide how you want to live your life. Let it go. So it leads into another point of mindful leadership. Attitude is everything. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond to it. For many of us choose to suffer. The reality is one way to actually take yourself and create a good attitude is just inhale joy and exhale frustration. Take a deep breath. And for so much of us, we've been taught the golden rule is to treat others as you would want to be treated. I think you got to take that a step further and create the platinum rule is do unto others as they want to be done unto. Give them, be thankful, have gratitude. We are most happy when we're giving to others. Yet we often are in pursuit of happiness. We buy things for ourselves. We eat. We do all kinds of crazy things that aren't going to make us more happy because we're not in the moment. We're reliving the past or the future. But scientists have proven that this pursuit of happiness makes us unhappy. And again, what you resist persists. So having more, better, faster is not necessarily the pursuit. So give your time, give your heart, give your love. As a leader, listen, show empathy, inspire. Be in the moment. Be there for the people that are in front of you. It's very important to show people that in this moment that you're giving them time. Next, number 5 is enjoy the moment. Now is all you've got. Life is not what we own. We cannot take it with us. Life is a series of moments that we choose that are meaningful or not. There are a bunch of experiences linked together to create who we are. So you have the choice to make life beautiful, choose your emotions, smile, as Mother Teresa said to my friend Mary, or you can be sad. In fact, I suggest you practice. One of the greatest things that I did with my daughter, who is an inspiration to me, is taught her about emotions early on. And we practiced emotions. Now she's actually an actress. She's been in a couple movies. She's in a Nickelodeon show here in a few weeks in LA just to go out there for a couple weeks. And, she's learned to be surprised, understand that she can change that emotion from angry to happy, and understand that she's in control of how she feels, not anyone else. And that's just practice emotions, to smile, to frown, to be unhappy, sad. But you get to choose how you feel now, because now is the only moment you have. And it's your choice to make your mind up about who you want to be right now. And that's the only choice you really have. Next, the goal is not the end. The journey is only the beginning. So many of us, especially as leaders, are working to manage people. The reality is you manage projects, you don't manage people. You can lead people, you can inspire them, you can give them purpose, you can actually set a big goal out there for those people. But that's not the end. It's just part of the journey of getting to wherever you're going. And I think getting the right people on the bus and attracting the right people comes to establishing the right purpose today. We can see that the new generations honestly are a lot smarter in this category of finding something that they love to do versus just seeking money. And we're seeing people going into entrepreneurship much over they are law and medicine, especially graduates of Ivy League schools have chosen a whole different field because they really understand that they want to find a purpose. They want to solve a problem that's bigger than themselves. And that's part of the leader is to establish that and create that for the people. So if we spend the time and focus on the right habits and we create our future through our thoughts, we don't resist and we embrace change. We approach everything with the right attitude, enjoy the moments, and most importantly, we should enjoy the journey, because really all the fun and all the sweat and tears and joy come from the journey. They don't come from reaching the goal. In fact, when you reach the goal, you just look back on all those moments that were meaningful and emotional to you that got you to where you are. And then finally, I think most importantly, and this goes to what's going on in the world a lot right now, is we realize we're just energy. We're positive or negative energy. And, you know, if we hurt others, we hurt ourselves. And that's where this conversation around racial equality and just equality for humanity is, that we are all one. We need to love unconditionally. I think a good example of this is, how many of you have dogs? I would probably suggest it looks like 50+% of you have dogs. Well, is your dog happy? It's likely that your dog's happy. You know why they're happy? It's because right now they're living in the moment. They're always in the moment. They actually will forget the past if something happened bad to them, and they're not thinking about their future. They're thinking about the joy that they are by seeing you right in the moment. And that's why every time you come home from work, your dog is likely at the door waiting for you to welcome you home. So love unconditionally. I think some way of this is go tell your spouse, partner, child, mother, father, neighbor, ex-wife that you love them. This is the most inviting love into your life. This is love will create more love. So if you go around loving people, you will be a loved person. So love is one of the most meaningful expressions. And as my business partner, Russ Wall, says, is love is all we need. Actually, the Beatles said that too. But all right, now I'd like you to just take a moment here as we're coming down to the close of my talk before we can answer some questions. Close your eyes. I want you to take 3 deep breaths in through your nose and then back out. Just take those breaths and get into this moment. Fill in your belly. Really properly breathe. It's one thing that we never practice all that much, but if you really properly breathe, you can breathe a lot of energy into you just sitting there. So take a deep breath and make sure you fill up your belly, and then pull it out, back out your nose. And now listen, the guest house. This being human is a guest house. Every morning is a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness. Some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all. Even if you are a crowd of sorrows who violently sweep your house, empty of its furniture, still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delights. The dark thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whatever comes, because each of us has been sent as a guide from beyond. Rumi. This to me has been very powerful, to let things go, to not resist things that have happened in my life, and to get over things quickly and move on my life and choose the moments that I want going forward. Because I know to think is to create, and what you resist persist. But this poem in general says, allow the teachings of others into your life at any moment. So as we look to the future, there's probably a trail that looks a little bit more path, the easier trail to take. I think you should take the trail less traveled. Really dig deep in your soul and deep into the moment and say, what do you want to learn? Do you want to learn something new? Do you want to explore something new? Because right now is a great opportunity, because everything has been reimagined. I've explored writing this in my book over the last 6 months. Over 1,000 pages were digested into 150. And I realized that the whole world has been reimagined, and that we have the opportunity to create a new world for each of us. And with that, I want to thank you for spending a little time with me here over lunch or in the early afternoon to ask you to join and sign our manifesto at Namaste Republic. It's important that we as a company and as a civilization, actually look to our future and create a better future for ourselves, for our children, for our neighbors. And we need to start doing it now. And it starts with living in the moment, because you'll make a lot better decisions as a leader, being present, not resisting what comes to you, looking for the learning and the opportunity, making mistakes, leaning into it, and actually becoming the leader that you always wanted to be. So thank you. I'll jump out of here and let me see if anyone has any questions. Feel free to fill in the chat. Any questions from anybody out there? Okay, well, thank you, Liana. Appreciate it. All right, well, if we have no specific questions on being a mindful leader in an exponential world, or anything on innovation here, I got a question over here. So, how can we inspire our staff to live in the moment? Thank you, Susan. I think what's important is to practice it. I think when you're in team meetings, having people is really practice being in the moment. And part of that is, with an exponential world, we're getting pulled in so many different directions. For example, social media, people have their phone with them, is turning your phone off, not looking at your messages, working to actually be in the moment as a leader. So as an example is to share that you're in the moment, that you're giving them all your attention and you expect the same. I think it'll change really, really quick. I do this exercise when I lead executives overseas, where we lower the stress levels by just creating positive comments. And part of it is, if you're going around and basically reinforcing the habits you want, which is very, very different than fear-based leadership, which, as I shared, is false evidence appearing real, that we live in the moment and we can actually inspire people to live in the moment as well. And we can really demand it from them by giving them all of our attention. It's hard in the world not to give that attention back. And we actually notice these leaders that do this, they really actually change our lives when we cross their paths. We remember them more, because I think, as Maya Angelou said, it's not how you make people think, it's how you make people feel. And it's the emotions that drive the moments of memory that will actually create you as a mindful leader and inspire your staff to live in the moment. Hopefully, Susan, that answered your question. Great. Any other questions? Okay, well, with that, I don't want to keep you much longer. I know there's a bunch of other talks out there, so I will go ahead and call this to a close. And if any of you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on aaronbare.com, aaronbare.com. Obviously, I hope that you get an opportunity to sign the manifesto at namasterepublic.com. And obviously, we'll be communicating about a new course on mindfulness that takes some of these principles and really drives down into them. So, but thank you for spending this afternoon with me.